Right now, there is a voice in your head telling you why your last relationship failed. It's blaming your
It's their
ex. It's
fault.
defending
I
your
was right.
action. It's saying, that's
That's
just
just who I
who I
am.
am. That voice, it's not you. It's your ego. And it's been sabotaging your love life for years. If you're tired of repeating the same relationship patterns, if you can't figure out why love keeps hurting you, or if you stuck watching your best intentions collapse into the same old behaviors, you need to understand the psychological mechanisms destroying your happiness. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 ways your ego ruins relationships and the 4 research backed steps to take back control. By the end of this video, you will recognize the exact moments your ego hijacks your love life and what to do about it. Let's get into it. Welcome to Miles to Marriage and Beyond. I am Leo Bastien, and we talk about the real psychology behind lasting love. Now, when most people hear ego, they think it means being arrogant or self centered. But in psychology and relationship science, the ego is something much more specific and much more dangerous. Here's what you need to know. The ego is the part of your mind designed for survival. It developed thousands of years ago to keep you alive, to detect threats, defend against danger, and protect you from harm. But here's the problem. Your ego can't tell the difference between a physical threat and an emotional one. When your partner criticizes you, your ego treats it like a life or death attack. When someone succeeds while you're struggling, your ego sees it as a threat to your survival. When you are asked to change, your ego interprets it as danger. This survival mechanism that once protected us from predators now destroys our relationships, blocks our personal growth, and keeps us trapped in cycles of blame, defensiveness, and unhappiness. Let me show you exactly how this plays out. The first way is the defensive mechanism, and your ego makes you defensive and blocks all growth. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to admit you're wrong in an argument? That's not stubbornness. That's your ego in full survival mode. Here's what happens. Your partner says, "You never listen to me." Instead of hearing their pain, your ego hears, "You are a bad person. You're under attack. Defend yourself now." So, what do? You counterattack. "Well, you never appreciate anything I do." Or you deflect. "That's just who I am. Take it or leave it." This is the ego's favorite phrase. "That's just who I am." Every time you say this, you are using your ego to justify saying exactly the same. You are treating your weaknesses as permanent identity traits instead of behaviors you can change. Think about it. How many times have you used "that's just who I am" to defend being late, being messy, being emotionally unavailable, or avoiding difficult conversations? The truth, you are not defending who you are. You're defending your ego's need to be right and avoid the discomfort of growth. Real love requires vulnerability. It requires admitting mistakes. It requires change. But your ego sees all of that as a threat to your survival. So it keeps you stuck in a defensive pattern that slowly poisons your relationship. Way number 2, your ego turns partnership into competition. Healthy relationships are built on teamwork. You and your partner against the problem, not you against your partner. But your ego doesn't understand teamwork. It only understands winning and losing. So when your partner gets a promotion, instead of celebrating, your ego whispers, "What does that say about you? You're falling behind. You're not good enough." When your partner is right about something, your ego can't let them have that win. So you argue, you nitpick, you find ways to prove they are not completely right. And when your partner needs emotional support, your ego turns it into a competition. "Well, I had a hard day too. Why does your stress matter more than mine?" This is why so many couples skip scores. "I did the dishes 3 times this week. I initiated sex last time. I apologized first." in our last fight. The scorekeeping, that's pure ego. It's treating your relationship like a zero-sum game where someone has to lose for you to win. But here's what the ego doesn't understand. In relationships, when one person loses, both people lose. When you compete with your partner, you're both losing the intimacy, the trust, the connection that makes love worth having. The strongest couples I know share a common trait. They've learned to quiet their egos enough to genuinely celebrate each other's wins and support each other's struggles without making it about themselves. And the third way is your ego makes you self-centered and destroys empathy. Your ego is obsessed with one question. What about me? Your partner is sharing something vulnerable. Your ego is already planning what you are going to say next. Your partner is upset. Your ego is calculating how this affects you and how to minimize your discomfort. Your partner needs something from you. Your ego is weighing whether giving it will cost you too much. This is why so many people feel lonely in their relationships. They're physically together, but emotionally, their partner's ego has made the relationship all about them. Here's a test. The next time your partner is talking to you about their day, their feelings, or their struggles, notice where your mind goes. Are you genuinely curious about their experiences, or are you waiting for your turn to talk? Are you thinking about how their mood affects your plans? Are you already formulating advice to fix the problem so you can move on? The fourth way, your ego creates constant anxiety and stress. Your ego is terrified of one thing above all else, being exposed as not good enough. So it creates an exhausting mental loop. What do they think about me? Did I say the right things? Do I look okay? Am I being judged? Am I measuring up? This is why so many people feel anxious in their relationships. They are not actually responding to their partner. They are responding to the ego's fear of being seen as inadequate. Think about these common relationship anxieties. Obsessing over text, message response time. Why haven't they text back? Are they losing interest? Over analyzing every conversation. Did I talk too much? Was I boring? Constantly seeking reassurance. Do you still love me? Are you sure? Performing instead of being authentic. Trying to be the perfect partner instead of your real self. All of this is ego driven anxiety. Your ego has convinced you that your worth depends on external validation, on being perceived as attractive, successful, interesting, or lovable. But here's the trap. The more you try to control how others perceive you, the more anxious you become because you can't control other people's thoughts. You can't force someone to validate you. And your ego knows this. So it keeps you in a constant state of stress, always monitoring, always performing, never relaxing. Real intimacy only happens when you drop the performance, when you stop trying to be perfect and start being real. But your ego fights this with everything it has because vulnerability feels like death to the ego. The irony, the anxiety your ego creates to protect you from rejection is exactly what pushes people away. And the fifth way, your ego prevents learning and keeps you stuck. Here is something I see constantly. Someone decides to make a positive change. They are motivated, they are ready, they start strong, then nothing. They're back to old patterns within weeks. What happened? The ego sabotaged them. Your ego is deeply invested in keeping you exactly as you are. Why? Because change is unpredictable. And unpredictable means dangerous to your ego's survival focused brain. So when you decide to become more emotionally available, more communicative, more vulnerable, and more present in your relationship, your ego launches a counterattack. The distraction attack, suddenly a friend has a crisis that needs your immediate attention. A work project becomes urgent. you get sick, something always comes up to pull you away from the change you were making. The justification attack. This personal growth stuff is too hard. Maybe I'm fine the way I am. My ex was the real problem anyway. I'll work on myself later when I have more time. Then the comfort zone attack. This feels uncomfortable and unfamiliar. That must mean it's wrong for me. I should go back to what feels natural, even though what feels natural is exactly what's been keeping you stuck. This is what people call procrastination, but it's not laziness. It's your ego battling your desire for growth. Your ego would rather keep you comfortable and stuck than let you grow into someone new, even if that new version of you would be happier, more fulfilled, and more capable of love. Think about it. How many times have you started therapy, read a self help book, committed to better communication, or promised to work on your issues only to abandon them when things got uncomfortable? How many times? That's not failure. That's your ego winning. The people who actually transform their relationships, they've learned to recognize when the ego is sabotaging them and they push through anyway. Okay, so if the ego is this powerful and this destructive, what do we do about it? Here's the truth. You can't eliminate your ego. It's part of being human, but you can learn to recognize when it's running the show and choose something different. So, here are 4 research backed steps to manage your ego and reclaim your relationship. The first step is practice mindfulness. Catch your ego in real time. Mindfulness means paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's the practice of observing your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. Here's how this works in relationships. Your partner criticizes you. You feel that instant defensive reaction rising. That's the moment. Instead of immediately reacting, you pause and think, that's my ego feeling attacked. What is my partner actually trying to communicate? This 3-second pause between trigger and response is where transformation happens. It's the gap where you can choose your true self over your ego. Try this. The next time you feel defensive, angry, or competitive in your relationship, mentally label it. That's my ego talking. This simple awareness creates distance between you and the ego's automatic reactions. Step 2, be open to feedback. Treat criticism as data, not attack. When someone gives you feedback, your ego hears, you're bad, you're wrong, you're being attacked. But what if you trained yourself to hear, here's valuable information about how my behavior affects others? The practice, when your partner says something critical, before you respond, say this phrase out loud. Help me understand what you mean. This does 2 things. It forces your ego to pause instead of defending, and it shows your partner you genuinely trying to hear them instead of just waiting to counterattack. Yes, it feels vulnerable. Yes, your ego will hate it. That's how you know it's working. Step 3, acknowledge your whole self, strengths and weaknesses. Try saying these sentences out loud to your partner. I'm working on being less defensive, but it's hard for me. I realize I make everything about me sometimes. I'm sorry. Or I'm not good at this yet, but I want to get better. Here is what's powerful about this. When you openly acknowledge your weaknesses, you remove your ego's power. Your ego can only control you when you are trying to hide your flaws and maintain a perfect image. The moment you say, yes, I struggle with this, you've taken away the ego's main weapon, the fear of being exposed. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more honest you are about your weaknesses, the more attractive you become. Because authenticity is magnetic. Vulnerability creates intimacy. And people don't fall in love with perfect. They fall in love with real, with authenticity. Step 4, practice self-compassion. Replace self-judgment with understanding. Your ego has 2 modes, inflating yourself or attacking yourself. When you make a mistake, your ego doesn't just acknowledge it. It turns it into evidence that you're fundamentally flawed. I messed up. That conversation becomes I'm terrible at communication. I got defensive again becomes I'm a bad partner. You'll never change. I hurt their feelings becomes I'm a selfish person who doesn't deserve love. This is the ego's cruelest trick. It makes you think harsh self-judgment will motivate you to change. But research shows the opposite is true. Self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you show a good friend, actually creates more motivation for growth, not less. The practice, when you catch yourself in ego driven behavior, instead of beating yourself up, try these phrases. I am human. I am learning. This is part of my growth process. Can I do differently next time? This isn't making excuses. It's creating the psychological safety you need to actually change. Self compassion is the antidote to the ego's self judgment. Here's what I want you to understand: your biggest battle isn't with your partner, it's with your ego. Every relationship conflict, every pattern you can't break, even time you sabotage your own happiness, there's a good chance your ego is running the show. But now you know the 5 ways it operates. 1, making you defensive and blocking growth. 2, turning partnership into competition. 3, destroying your empathy and making everything about you. 4, creating constant anxiety about how you are perceived. And 5, sabotaging every attempt to change. And you have 4 tools to fight back. 1, mindfulness, to catch your ego in real time. 2, openness to feedback without defensiveness. And 3, honest acknowledgement of your whole self. And 4, self-compassion instead of self-judgment. The goal isn't to eliminate your ego, it's to recognize when it's speaking and choose something different. The next time you feel that defensive reaction rising, that competitive urge, that self-centered focus, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, is this my ego talking, or is this my true self? Because your true self, it wants connection, it wants growth, it wants love, and it's waiting for you to give it control. If this video helped you recognize your ego's patterns, do 2 things. First, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We post new relationship psychology content every Monday that helps you build the love life you actually want. Second, share this with someone who needs to hear it. We are growing this channel to 3,000 subscribers, and your share helps us reach more people who are ready to break free from ego-driven relationships. Drop a comment and tell me, which of these 5 ego patterns do you struggle with most? Let's talk about it. Thanks for watching Miles to Marriage and Beyond. I am Leo Bastien, and I'll see you next Monday with more real talk about love. Love, joy, peace, and light to you all. Namaste.